June 12, 1944. Dawn broke over a muddy repair yard outside Cherbourg. Rain tapped on broken steel. The smell of oil hung heavy. Anna Petrovna wiped grease from her eyes and looked at the line of tanks. 40 of them. All dead. Tracks snapped. Armor torn. Engines silent. German guns were moving closer by the hour. Commanders said it couldn't be done. They laughed at her job title. Scrap metal welder. That's what they called her. She had 72 hours, or the front would break. Anna wasn't a soldier. She didn't carry a rifle. She carried a torch. Her hands were burned and scarred. Her boots were soaked. Men twice her size shook their heads. Tanks took days to fix. Weeks sometimes. 40 tanks in 3 days was madness. But Anna didn't argue. She lit her torch. The flame hissed. The clock started ticking. Anna was 26 years old. She grew up fixing farm tools with her father. Broken plows, bent blades, rusted chains. Her father taught her that everything could be saved if you knew where to look. When war came, she joined a tank repair unit. Most men thought she'd last a week. They joked. They mocked. They said she'd slow them down. Some refused to work beside her. Others bet money she'd quit before the month ended. Now those same men were staring at a field of wrecked steel and praying she was as good as she claimed. Real quick before I continue, hit subscribe if you want more insane WW2 stories like this. We tell real stories about real people who changed history under impossible pressure. You don't want to miss what happens next. Because what Anna did next shocked everyone. In 72 hours, her crew brought 40 tanks back to life. Those tanks rolled straight into battle. They stopped a German push cold. This is the story of how a woman they mocked saved an entire front with fire and skill. At the start of the war, German tanks ruled the battlefield. Their crews trained hard. Their machines moved fast. In 1940 and 1941, they crushed enemy lines again and again. French tanks burned. Soviet units broke. German officers wrote home with pride. They believed tanks won wars. And they believed no one could stop them. But by 1944, things had changed. The Allies were pushing hard. Tanks mattered more than ever. Every advance needed armor. Every retreat needed cover. A single broken tank could stall an entire unit. A field of broken tanks meant disaster. That's what sat in that muddy yard outside Cherbourg. A nightmare of twisted steel. The situation was desperate. Without those tanks, the line would collapse. Soldiers would die. Ground would be lost. Anna knew tanks better than most soldiers. She knew where armor cracked under stress. She knew which parts failed first. She could hear a bad engine just by turning it once. She understood weight distribution, weak points in treads, how metal behaved under pressure. Her advantage wasn't strength. It was speed and focus. She didn't fix tanks by the book. She fixed them by need. If a tank could move and shoot, it was ready. Everything else was secondary. She split her crew into teams. One team cut damaged plates free. Sparks flew day and night. Another team stripped parts from tanks beyond saving. Nothing went to waste. Gears, bolts, track links, armor plates. Everything mattered. Anna moved fast between them, shouting orders, checking welds, fixing mistakes. She barely slept. When exhaustion hit, she'd splash cold water on her face and keep going. They worked in shifts that never really ended. Sleep came in short bursts on cold ground. Hands bled. Eyes burned from smoke. The sound of metal grinding never stopped. German shells landed closer each day. Once, shrapnel sliced through a tank they were fixing. The welder working on it dropped dead instantly. No one stopped. Anna just dragged the body aside and kept welding. There was no time for grief. No time for fear. Only work. By the end of the first day, 6 tanks moved under their own power. Men stared in shock as engines roared back to life. Commanders came to see for themselves. They couldn't believe it. By the second day, 15 more followed. The yard echoed with sound. Clanks. Shouts. Engines coughing awake. Hope spreads fast. Soldiers who had written goodbye letters started tearing them up. But the work got harder. The easy repairs were done. What remained were tanks with cracked engine blocks, shattered transmissions, twisted frames. Anna didn't give up. She improvised. She welded reinforcement bars where proper parts didn't exist. She cannibalized 3 tanks to save 7 others. Every decision was a calculated risk. German scouts reported the tanks destroyed. Their commanders believed it. They planned an attack at dawn on the 4th day. They expected weak lines. They expected fear. Instead, they rolled into a wall of steel. When the attack came, fog hugged the ground. German crews advanced with calm confidence. Then they heard engines. Not a few. Many. Shapes moved through the mist. Guns fired. Tanks they thought were dead opened fire. German radio calls turned sharp and panicked. This wasn't possible. Those tanks were scrap. Shells slammed into German armor. Tracks blew apart. Crews bailed out under fire. The push collapsed in minutes. Survivors pulled back fast. Later, German officers wrote about it with confusion. How did the Allies fix so many tanks so fast? They never learned her name. Anna didn't watch the battle. She was still in the yard, fixing the last hull. Her hands shook when it finally rolled out. She sat down hard in the mud. Only then did the weight hit her. 40 tanks. 72 hours. Against all odds. After that day, no one called her scrap metal welder again. Soldiers brought her coffee. Officers asked her for advice. When new crews arrived, they were told one thing. If your tank breaks, get it to Anna. She'll bring it back. Anna never saw herself as a hero. She said tanks were like people. Hurt, but not dead. They just needed care and time. But in war, time is everything. She gave them time they didn't have. Her story wasn't unique. Across the Allied world, workers like her kept the war moving. Welders, fitters, mechanics, people without medals. America alone fixed and built tens of thousands of tanks during the war. Many were repaired again and again, and returned to battle within days. That was the real power. Not just building machines, but fixing them fast. While enemies waited for new tanks, the Allies reused what they had. Broken didn't mean useless. It meant temporary. This advantage was invisible but decisive. Anna survived the war. She went back to quiet work. She never wrote books, never gave speeches. But in that muddy yard in 1944, she changed history with fire and steel. One number tells the whole story. During the war, the Allies repaired more tanks than Germany built in total. That difference won battles before they even began. Thanks for listening. If this story moved you, subscribe for more true WW2 stories you won't hear in school. Next time, we'll tell the story of a single bridge that stopped an entire army. You won't want to miss it.